it's Cheryl here, giving you a quick look at the prep work I've done for my One Little Word album for 2018. I'm actually using a traveler's notebook system this time, so those notebooks I just flipped through are all from Michaels. They have some in the regular planner section in the B6 size, and then I found some in their dollar spot as well. And I gave you a quick look at the papers, mostly scraps that I've chosen for this. I wasn't going to need a lot of paper at this point. And I'm also using these prompt cards from Ali Edwards from the One Little Word digital kit to set up dashboards. So I haven't filled in a lot of the information on them yet, like the definition of my word, the things I want to get out of my word, my intentions, those sorts of things. I just worked on the sort of messy watercolory preparation part. That's as far as I am right now. Still lots of time in January to mull over these things in my brain and get those words down, and I certainly will share more once that happens. But this was really just the prep work to get the base of the album or notebook ready to go. So I'm adhering the prompt cards back to back. I've sort of chosen one of the quotes from Ali and then one of the cards that I have to fill out and paired them that way. You'll see in a few minutes that I never measure anything because after I put each pair together, I had to trim the ends and kind of square everything up. I don't mind that, that's just the way I work. I probably never will measure. That's something that is not going to change, so... So now that those are all ready to go, it's time to pull out some of the other pieces that I'm going to use for my dashboards. This little card that says Learn, I did not hand letter this. See Amy Draw. You can find her on Instagram and Etsy. She has a Facebook group and she was lettering these for people who had chosen their word for the year. So that's where that lettering came from. And I added some watercolor and some mess to it using my Jane Davenport Mermaid markers. So that's what I'm working on right now, kind of splattering a little color around and adhering that word card onto this one word can be a very powerful thing card from the kit. I'll spare you the footage of me trying to dig out my pen and then outlining the letters on that card since my head was in frame the entire time. And so I'm just splattering with some of the pens. I used probably the same colors throughout most of this process. A lot of teal, some of the pink. I will list the color names below if you'd like to know exactly what those are. And you can see the gold pattern paper to my left, to the left of the screen there. That's the paper that I sort of was basing everything off of. It has a lot of the gold in it. It has some of the sort of pinky magenta purple, a little bit of green and blue, and so I was just kind of going with those colors there as I splattered and misted and painted my way through these embellishments. So what I'm using in the back here are just sheets of laminating film left over from other projects. There's nothing special about them. You can use transparency sheets. They just are clear and happen to be about the right size for the dashboards that I wanted to make. So there's a lot of options for that. Again, me not measuring. just speed through this part a little faster because I basically repeat the same process with several other pieces of laminating film and just make some more dashboards in exactly the same way I did the first one. So my corner rounder really got to work out through this whole project. And I do, once the dashboards are folded, I round the inside corner, like the center corner for lack of a better term, as well, and that just helps the strings inside the TN. It helps the dashboard sort of sit a little better, gives the strings a place to sit and then doesn't pull on the laminating film as much. Yeah, so I'm just flipping through the rest of the dashboards, realizing that I forgot to do the corners on this particular one. And I haven't fully adhered those pieces down yet. You can see the note to self card moving around a little. I haven't stapled both sides because I do want to write on those. I just really wanted to give myself an idea of how the book was going to come together and how everything was going to look before I did that. So they're still moving around a little there, but that's something that is easily fixable once everything is complete. So that piece of gold paper that I started working on here, and the reason I attached two together, I was thinking that I could use this pattern since it's sort of the starting point for everything and where the colors had come from. I was thinking it would be a large enough dashboard to wrap around all the inserts, but it wasn't quite the right size for that. So I did trim it down just to the regular size of the other dashboards I had used, and then set it aside to find a home for it once everything was coming together a little bit more. So then what I did decide to make to wrap around all of the inserts, I used these Happy Planner dividers. These are probably really old right now. They're from my original Happy Planner, and I just cut them to size and used a piece of leftover laminating film in the middle, and made sure it had a thick enough spine to go around all of the notebooks that will be inside my TN. So I'm just, again, cutting without measuring. You're used to this by now. Don't be surprised at this cutting without measuring. This is just how things work for me. Yeah, so I'm just getting those ready and corner rounding the sides. That corner chomper was my savior. Like I said earlier, this got so much work during this process. That and my tiny attacher stapler were the things I could not live without as I was working on this notebook. Here's where I realized my mistake in that the one piece of paper I had chosen was not double-sided, and it was of course attached to a clear piece of laminate. So I had to do a little bit of rearranging, and this paper, as I was trimming it, of course, I didn't realize that the way I had trimmed it left the pattern itself, because of the stripes, it looked really obvious that it wasn't quite straight enough. So I decided to just go with a different pattern. It's an easy fix, and that heart-shaped or heart-striped pattern will certainly get used some other day. So I'm going with this stripe instead, and I like how that looks. It has a little bit of a foil effect to it, so that certainly works with a lot of the other things inside this notebook currently. I did mess with the leftover pieces to see if I could cover that little bit that I trimmed. Again, this is where me not measuring comes back to haunt me, but wait and see. I'll figure it out. There's always a way. My main dashboard is complete or together, I decided to embellish it a little more and go back to some of the cards I had printed, add some more markers, some more watercolor, and just see what else I could do to decorate the inside of the notebooks, the inside of the dashboards, and just add some more bits and pieces. This color is Bermuda Bay. By the way, this is the one I was using earlier as well. And the other color I use quite a bit of is Calypso Coral. Those are, again, the Jane Davenport Mermaid markers. You can find them at Michael's, I do believe. That's where I got mine. And I think Jane Davenport's website sells them internationally as well, but I haven't shopped from there because it's in Australia, I believe. The shipping would be a little tricky, so Michael's is much easier for me. And I'm glad I saved a few little bits of these scraps. Some of these pieces of paper are quite small, but even the tiniest bits came in handy when I wanted to back some of the smaller cards and just back some of the words that I was using. And so I just repeated similar patterns, repeated the gold, repeated a little bit of black, all the things that I've been using up to this point. So right now I'm just going through the notebooks again with some of the scraps I had kept, some printables, a few quotes that I'd like to have inside my one little word notebook. And I'm just adding those to the inside covers of notebooks, to the backside of dashboards, or wherever I think I might need a little extra. Again, using the same markers, embracing lots of mistakes with those markers, lots of times where I wanted to just dab the ink and forgot what I was doing and started wiping it. I don't worry about these things. There's ink everywhere. It is what it is. And, you know, the funny thing about watching even myself do this now is thinking of a friend of mine who doesn't scrapbook at all, but still watches all these process videos and says that they make her feel better about her life when I say that nothing is perfect. And if you're looking for perfect, go to someone else's channel. And then when I joke about all the mistakes I make and how there's no real mistakes, you just keep rolling with them and turn them into something else. And so right now, of course, as I'm watching myself change my mind on several things, like rounding the corners of this transparency and then, you know, cutting it off later, I'm thinking of my friend Liz, who seems to think that all those mistakes that I make that aren't really mistakes are quite funny. And so in reality, they are. You know, I'm just having fun. There's nothing earth-shattering here. It's all just paper. There's nothing I can't reprint. There's nothing I can't rebuy. There's nothing I can't recut. It's just paper. And it's taken me a long time to approach it like that because I used to have paper that I loved that was too good to use. If you've never heard Shamel Lane's story of the ugly paper, you should. You should go to her, I don't know if it's on her blog, I'll see if I can find it. But basically she talks about this paper that was so special and too special to use, and she just ended up hoarding it for years and then realized she didn't even like it anymore. And this special paper just sat. So I'm trying to not have special paper anymore. So that's why I say, it's all just paper. It can be cut. I can get another sheet. I can buy another pen. I can clean all of the ink off all of these things if I want to and start again. There's nothing really that can't be undone. So here it is. Now we're just going to have a look through and I'm going to decide where I'd like to add a few more of those bits and pieces that I just embellished. friends, is where we leave it for today. So there are still some things to do. Like I said, I have the definition to fill in, but this is the guts of the notebook, and this is where one little word will grow with me this year and where all the magic is going to happen. The notebook cover that this is all going inside of, actually it's on its way to me right now. It's just in transit being shipped. So it will be here soon. But yeah, everything is ready to go. Happy 2018.